the great Anthony Dabbundo. On Twitter at his name, at Anthony Dabbundo. My friend, welcome back to the show. What's up?
It's good to be back. Excited to talk some football, you name it, we'll talk it. It's really a crazy time of the sports year for me, with all of the sports that I regularly bet kind of converging into one. I call it the Dabbundo Equinox. It's been a fun September and October, kind of the crazy months for me.
Yeah, Anthony has been on the show a million times, and usually when we have Anthony on, it's primarily for soccer because, for my money, for my estimation, he is the best, period, betting or otherwise, when it comes to breaking down soccer, both handicapping it for bets and just if you just enjoy watching the sport. His breakdowns and knowledge of the sport is unbelievable. So let's start with some soccer first, Anthony, some football, and then we'll get to American football. Couple big games in the Premier League this weekend. Let's start with Chelsea and Manchester United, and your thoughts on this game, where I believe, and I'm like out of soccer mode right now, like Garnacho is going to start for Chelsea against his old team, right? Manchester United. What are your thoughts on this game? How are you betting it?
Probably means he's going to score, right? That's been the trend of the last couple of years, and you even saw this in the Champions League and in Serie A. Rasmus Højlund leaves United in disgrace, scores on his debut for Napoli. Marcus Rashford leaves United, scores 2 for Barca in the Champions League on Thursday. So maybe Garnacho will score. I don't know. But ultimately, this price has drifted out to a point where I could only bet Man United. United as a pretty sizable home underdog now. This was a pick 'em a couple days ago. It's been one-way traffic. But the problem is, United went out and kind of tried to rebuild their attack. Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Šeško. I just don't know how much better they actually are. The problems feel tactical. They feel like a system that they're in is broken. And so actually the only way I could look to bet this game is actually the under now. And under 3 is right around minus 115 if you can find it. That's probably the best way to go at this one. Chelsea's attack has been up and down this season. They've scored way above their XG. They've relied a lot on set pieces, but the actual open play Chelsea attack has just been okay this year. They're right around mid-table in open play expected goals. So I think this game could end up being a little bit lower scoring on Sunday or Saturday rather at United.
For people that are parachuting in for soccer and want to bet the games this weekend, and because there are some great games in the Premier League this weekend, Anthony, I think they'll be surprised by the setup for this Arsenal-Manchester City game. And this has been one of the best rivalries in the Premier League for a while now. And Pep Guardiola this week taking shots at Mikel Arteta. Obviously, those two have a big history. Arteta, the manager at Arsenal, Guardiola, the longtime manager at Manchester City, where Arsenal are towards the top of the table behind Liverpool. Liverpool currently in first. And Man City, 2-2 to start the year, well off the pace, feeling like the underdogs here, and they are dogs in this game. I think people will look at that and say, well, I want to bet Manchester City at this price, because when do you see them ever at this price? What are you doing with Arsenal and Manchester City?
Yeah, I laid the chalk. I like Arsenal at home, minus 110. Look, the Gunners are not a particularly reliable team when it comes to their attack because they're so dependent on set pieces to score, and that's been one thing that I've been honestly highly critical of them. I think the one reason, if you had to point to any reason why they haven't won the Premier League, they're the 3-time runner-up now. The main reason is they haven't been creative enough in open play, and they've had too many games where they've been pegged back for draws and maybe settled for draws and not been able to kind of turn draws into wins. That's over the course of 38 games. But in these high-profile matchups, you would struggle to find a single game where Arsenal has been truly outplayed over the course of 90 minutes by one of these elite teams. And that's, I think, something that's a testament to just how good their out-of-possession structure is. And honestly, they asked Phil Foden, who's one of Man City's best players, about this on the broadcast Thursday. And he said, right now, in terms of structure and discipline, they're the shining star of this league. And that's the big question I still have about City. City's out-of-possession structure, when they do not have the ball, can still be picked on, can still be exploited. And I think on the road at Arsenal, they're able to tilt the field on City and make them uncomfortable without the ball and take advantage of some weakness in their defense. So I think that's the question with City that I still have. People are trying to write this "is City back" narrative. They had a downturn last year. I think they're probably halfway back to what they were at their peak, but that last step is a big one, and I don't think they're close to that yet. So I like the Gunners at home.
Do you have another favorite EPL bet for this weekend, or another EPL bet that you really like?
Yeah, a dream spot for Bournemouth at home on Sunday against Newcastle. Newcastle makes their return to the Champions League. 2 years ago, it did not go well for Newcastle when they had to play multiple games a week. They do not have the squad depth, and their style is very reliant on pressing, energy, running, being physical. And I think it's really hard to sustain that over the course of a full season when you're also playing in the Champions League. And so this turnaround is brutal. They played Thursday against Barcelona. They lost 2-1. It was a pretty competitive game. Sunday, they have to go all the way from Newcastle to Bournemouth, which is like the English equivalent of the West Coast team coming east. It's a pretty far trip, more than they're used to, at least. A much smaller country, of course. So we're speaking in relative terms here. But Bournemouth are kind of the chaos maxers of the Premier League. They are now the team who likes to press, be energetic, make you run. And I don't know if Newcastle's legs are going to hold up. Second game in 3 days against another, pressing magnet like Bournemouth is. So I like Bournemouth at home. They have taken some money here. Draw no bet, like minus 125 is still fine. If you're not, money line plus 145 I saw out there. So I like the Cherries at home against Newcastle in a classic turnaround spot on Sunday.
You better you bet on this Friday. Our guest, Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer. One more soccer betting question, then we'll get to the National Football League and maybe close with a little baseball. So we always like to ask you, as long as time permits, where in the world is Anthony Dabbundo? I would sing it like the Carmen Sandiego theme song, which you're probably too young to know what that is. That's okay. I'm
aware of it, but don't know it. Yeah.
Where in the world is Anthony Dabbundo? Outside of the Premier League, where do we want to go this weekend? And Anthony Dabbundo, best bet in a European soccer league that is not the English Premier League, in about 1 minute so we can save time for the other stuff.
Yeah, we've got the Sunday. I was pulling up the time. Really early Sunday morning. Roma at Lazio in the Rome derby there. That's a big local rivalry. I'm going to go with Roma, quote-unquote, on the road. Not that it's really on the road, although there'll be more Lazio fans there for this game. They're technically the home team. I like Roma, draw no bet here as the right around pick 'em. They are, I think, clearly a tier above this year. Like, Italy is always fun because so many of these leagues, you have different kind of giants like Bayern and PSG, and you kind of get repeat champions. But Italy's not like that. And it's an open field. And I do think Roma's closer to that top two, that Inter-Napoli tier, than the others. So, give me Roma here. I'm seeing plus 165 money line there. It should be good.